Thank you so much for coming to my course. 6 tools for instilling a self-protective mindset in girls growing up in rape culture. Something very real, something we need to look at and not look away from. So thank you so much for being here, and let's get started. Okay, to start off, why am I doing this? Because I was raised in the rape culture of the United States of America, and because I was raped in the rape culture, and it was terrible. I remembered my light before I was raped, and I still remember it, but after having been raped, I remembered it, and I knew it was a place I wanted to go back to. After I was raped, I endured a lot of mental health challenges, social challenges, domestic challenges, and rather than, people who were my supporters looking at the outside of me, the system that I was in, some of them did, but not all of the adults in my life. In fact, some of them, instead of looking at the system I was in and saying, hey, how can we change this? I'm sorry you were a victim of the system. They shamed me, and that was so unfair. It made things really challenging, and I did a self-healing path in order to get well, because it didn't seem like, my outside systems were going to be as helpful as I needed them to be. So here I am. I survived, and I am here to show others not just how to survive, but how to prevent their girls and their children from being victims of the rape culture. Now, my awesome changing moment came after I became a mother. I had been on a self-healing path for a while, but I guess it was the unconditional love that my daughter showed me that really woke me up. I saw how many boundaries were around my heart, how many walls. And as the love for my daughter started toppling them down, I saw how much dust was gathered in there. And I went into a pretty intense postpartum depression. And one day I was laying on the floor and I could barely even get up. I felt like maybe I was half dead. And my daughter, only 2 years old, saying, Mommy, please get up, really woke me up. I started crying, and I realized, wow, I'm in this place, and I deserve to be, and I should be in a better place. I should not be a victim of any circumstances like this. Because of not having good boundaries, I ended up dating a man and having a child with him and not really knowing how to have a functional relationship. And it was, really, really hard raising my daughter while going through an abusive situation. And I just knew. I was like, that's it. My daughter's not going to go through this when she's growing up. Somehow I'm going to get over all this, and she's not going to go through it. And not just her, all girls in the world, all children in the world. I want to not just feel safe about my child being in the world, but I want to feel safe about all just kids being in the world. And so here I am doing what I can. Okay, so here's our tool number 1, instilling a self-protective mindset in ages 0 to 5. Now, when it comes to changing rape culture, I truly believe we're going to have to change parenting. So here we go. So I read an article about the Inuit people of Alaska, and apparently their children and their people grow up to be just peaceful and quite level-headed and funny and happy. And their number 1 rule is don't yell at small children. First of all, when they're babies and toddlers, they are trying to tell you something. And it's something that I've done, and it was really hurtful to me and my daughter. Fortunately, she's resilient. She bounced back, but I just felt really guilty, and I knew that there had to be a different way of child rendering. And then I learned that the Inuit, they do discipline through telling stories. For example, they say if the kids go into the ocean monster could get them. And I tried this out with my daughter once, and it actually worked. She was climbing a banister outside, and there was this cement underneath, and I told her that there was a cement monster in the cement, and it only looks at kids when they're really, really high above. And she believed me. Now, fortunately, the Inuit children have said, as grown-ups, that they weren't traumatized by any of those lies. They actually laugh a lot about it later in life. And so that's something we can do. Now, the reason that I think this is a good parenting for self-protective mindset is because if you grow up to be peaceful and level-headed and you're not yelled at, you are going to see things like violence and non-peace as really weird, and you're not going to like it, and you're going to veer away from it. And so that's why I included this as tool number 1, and you can read more about the Inuit at the link in the references. Tool number 2 is more about big kids, okay? Because I know that some of you parents probably have kids who are older than 5. You might feel bad and think, oh my goodness, I have yelled at my kids so much, and now they're big, and now we're yelling at each other all the time. So this tool in relating is kind of goes like this. So good relationships are like trees. They demand attention and care in the beginning, but once they blossom, they provide us oxygen, beauty, and shade in all situations in life. And that is how our children should feel about their relationship with us, and us about our relationship with them. So here we go. There is something called feeling triggered, okay? That's a very inappropriate way to explain feeling adrenaline. Adrenaline can be something amazing. It makes people run and jump. It happens when we fall in love, when we're excited. And for example, you look at movies, adrenaline sets off monologues. They make turning points. People confess love, and they're game changers. So unfortunately, in the home, when there's adrenaline, because of the way we've been raised in the past, because of demand relationships, of strict discipline, we've gotten into this pattern of like thinking that we're supposed to control the kids, and the kid thinks that they need to please us, and then they feel bad because the relationship's not fair, and they withhold love, and then we withhold love to try to get them to do something we want them to do, and then there's manipulating, guilt, and shame, and all kinds of terrible things that come from that. But developing relationships build trust up, and what happens is you can form these relationships by using your adrenaline, your activating moments, your opportune moments, by telling the truth. So like, let's say your child is, left all these toys over the floor, and you said to pick them up and she hasn't. You can say something with your anger, with your adrenaline. You can say something like, I love you, and I don't want to yell at you because I love you. And at the same time, if these toys are not picked up, I'm going to hurt myself. And I'm going to feel really sad about that. And I don't want to feel sad around you. You're my best friend. I want to feel good around you. And do you see how different that is? How real that is? The truth, it's always love. I mean, can you imagine how much personal responsibility and empowerment that would create in a child? How it will inspire them and build up their trust and love. So you can learn more about this in Relationship Development by Stacy Martino. Tool number 3, subconscious imagery. Really important. Okay, so human beings, as you know, we're always in an environment, and we're always picking up subconscious. Our subconscious is always being formed by the images that we're seeing. I mean, when you see an eagle, you're so awe-inspired. When you walk through like in a neighborhood with mansions, you feel like maybe motivation or something. And internal messages from the images that we see are subconscious. So there was so much sexual objectification of women back in the day, and unfortunately it's still happening. It's not as bad as it once was, but we can change that. In our home, we can have pictures like this one of Queen Hathor of Egypt. I mean, look how powerful she is. She's absolutely magical. She's wearing a sun disk on her head, and she lived on planet Earth, just like we're living now. You know, we have the potential inside of us to also be great. And even just seeing that on the daily, like in your home environment or on your phone, or even just a little picture that you give to your child, hey, keep this in your backpack, and because it's, you know, when you look at it, think of me, or something. An empowering image of feminine girlhood, womanhood, will make them think more powerfully, more about themselves and about any situation that they're in. Body positivity, also really helpful. You know, body positivity is not just about like saying that thin and fat, or thin and a lot of weight on the body, a lot of fat on the body, more fat on the body is are both okay. Okay, it's all about pleasure, because sometimes people with a lot of more fat on their body are having more pleasure in life anyway than people with less fat on their body. And there's this narrative that less fat is better. And you know what? We can feel pleasurable no matter what our body is like. And so really just pleasure in our bodies, things that make us feel good, starting from, you know, being young is important. And also seeing the body as whole. I put here to refer to reproductive organs as the heart wombs, because you know, this way the vagina and the womb are viewed as one with the heart. Definitely not something to be toyed around with, you know, like only positivity should be happening there, you know, when they grow up. And that's just how they should be thinking about their future lives, okay? Because we're sexual beings and people are going to have sex when they get older, and that should not be shamed. It should just be seen as something that should feel good and kind. Okay, so then the next step is instilling a self-protective mindset in adolescence. Now, there's different tools for this step, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so here we go. Now, teenagers, they're generally self-centered. They care about their future and their dreams, the things that they want and don't want. And that's great, because when they hear ancient knowledge about things like sex, they will care more when they realize that the people that they're having intercourse with, they're going to be connected to spiritually forever. And that's something that ancient matriarchal knowledge taught. It's definitely worth giving it a try. So I'm going to keep going, okay? Ancient knowledge, here we go. Ancient knowledge is awesome. It's something that I've studied as a habit for a long time. And so here it goes. Like, the world was once a matriarchy. As you can see here, it's evident in statues in Egypt. And I also learned that, oh God, we just utilize so much of our creative DNA as women, so much of our power. At 40 and 60, what the, you know, patriarchal culture has seen as times of aging for women, they were actually times of rejuvenation. Okay? Ageism, obviously, it's a part of rape culture. It's disgusting. So changing the narrative around what age means to a woman, I think can be really helpful, because it'll show, like, sexiness is not about being young. Sexiness is about being yourself and making your life how you want to make it, with your power, which women have a lot of. And I'll move forward and explain some more about that. Okay, but before I do, I want to go into the chakra system a little bit. I know some of you guys might be like, okay, you can't even see chakras, I'm not going to even listen, and that's okay. But I'm putting this in here because this is my training. I attend a mystery school, and I learned a lot about the chakra temples, and the root chakra is very important It's between our legs, and it is what roots us to the earth plane. Super important. Okay, so one night stands, things like that have become a little commonplace. No, really important that what we are doing in between our legs is absolutely nurturing and absolutely good for us. And life-giving. I mean, come on, it makes children. Okay, like that has a lot to do with us being rooted to the earth. So I feel like we need to see this as more serious than just like biology. I mean, and I'm glad that that's where the world is moving. So explaining this to an open-minded adolescent, a lot of them are spiritually minded, more and more I've noticed. It might make them think twice about who they let into their root chakra temple. Also, the root chakra temple is associated with temperance. When you focus on something like study, one of the, I guess you can describe it as a petal. You probably have seen chakras, drawn as lotus flowers, and so one of those petals is temperance, and it's a really good petal because it's about focus and stillness, and that's why like people who go to school for a long time, they're not respected just because they might make more money. It's because they have the stamina to sit through it and be grounded and earn temperance. It's like being a master. So the root chakra, it's beautiful in so many different ways. Okay, more about ancient knowledge. This is what I was going to refer to earlier. It was common knowledge as to why women were in higher positions of power. Okay, so our maternal instinct, first of all, makes us intuitive. That's really good for society building. And then our DNA was designed to create life effortlessly. This makes us super powerful. I mean, come on. If we can create life effortlessly, imagine what we can create intentionally, like with visualization, for example. In pre-colonial Native America, I read this in the Sacred Hoop. Most tribes practiced gynocentry. So the women were the ones that held the lead positions in the societies. The savage settlers on purpose, tried to oust the women from their positions of power because they would say no to all the destructive things they wanted to do. That's why a lot of people don't know that most Native American tribes were gynocentric. So glad to be bringing back this ancient knowledge for the world. And we can also apply the ancient wisdom. Daily visualization of what we want. It has a lot to do with creation. Like we have those third eyes for a reason, seeing what we want and creating it. And I realized I didn't finish the slide. So I'm going to say it out loud. This is a free course. It's my first course that's public. So this is a practice course, y'all. Okay, so if you like it, yay. And I'm going to tell you that Money is an Energy Game, this awesome book that I read, spoke about miraculous happenings from just focusing on what you want 68 seconds per day. Abraham Hicks, you can look it up. It's called 68-Second Miracle or something like that. Even just 68 seconds a day can get you to where you want to be in like 6 to 8 months. I'm not kidding. It's awesome. Okay, these are my references. I am done with this first course, this free course. I'm so happy to be able to share this knowledge. It's late here where I'm at. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed up all night doing this because I wanted to get this to you as soon as possible. I love you all. You can look me up on Facebook, and I hope to be hearing from you. And more courses will be coming, and they're going to be awesome. A lot of ancient wisdom, a lot of professionalism, a lot of clarity. Blessings to you all. May you all live awesome lives, and your children as well. May they live well, happy, and strong forever, liberated and free from violence and bondage, and filled with love. Amen, amen.